It's not any different massively to studio to live sound. A lot of the skills are transferable. Like I said, in studio you just tend to have a bit more time to think about things, and in live sound it's got to be more about the reaction time. But having said that, you have sound checks, and that's where you iron out your problems. The functions we're mainly going to be looking at then are what we're offered quick access to up here, and then just a few changes in routing moving forwards. So, no different really. We select a channel, we get into sound check, we gain it. Live sound, I tend to find you can be a little bit more generous with the head room that you give. So giving a little bit more headroom. You tend to find that musicians, sound check, they'll be chilled, they'll be relaxed, they get on stage in the evening for the performance, and they'll be hyper, they'll be built up, so they'll be louder. So giving a little bit more headroom, minus 18, minus 12, isn't a problem. Okay, you just carry it. In studio, I wouldn't do that, but live, give a little bit more headroom. So now, when we bring this up, 1, 2, 1, 2, that's how it would work normally. Okay, comes through, that's how it works in the studio, that's how you've been told to do things so far in the studio. What we're going to add into the mix is DCAs. So DCAs are a digital version of a VCA, it's a voltage controlled amplifier. This is a digitally controlled amplifier, okay? So DCA, basically a way of grouping things. So what we're going to do is, whilst we're on our DCA groups, we're going to hold down select, and then I'm going to press the buttons, the ones I want to add to the group one. So in this case, all the vocal mics. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. So if I let go and I want to double check, hold down select again, it shows me what's in that group. If I hold down group 2, I might want to add, let's just say these are all guitars. Okay? So I've got group 1, I've got group 2.
What does that actually do?
So, my fader's still up, now I talk, can't hear me. You'll see the signal now is registering though on DCA 1. So if I bring that up, now you can hear me. If I've got 5 vocalists or 4 vocalists or whatever, and I've found a nice mix between those vocalists, but overall the vocal mix is too loud or quiet, because they're all sent to DCA 1, as a group,
you can turn them
I can turn them all up and down, okay? Rather than having to do Spider-Man stuff. Like,
and does that turn them up proportionally? Or?
yeah, it's all in ratio.
Okay.
Yeah. So trying to do that manually would be a bit of a move. Yeah. So we find a nice balance within our mix, and then we've got an overall fader for our mix of those vocals. Okay. And if you want to quickly mute something, if you do that, all of those vocals are now muted. So when bands are coming on and off stage, it can be a quicker way. We do have mute groups on here. We're not going to get into that because that's not standard on all X32s. You don't have this section and this section here on all X32s, just a bigger version. So mute groups, the quickest way to do them are using the VCAs down here. If you think you've got 32 tracks, so you've got all 32 mics active, and you submix those into 8 DCAs, you're now controlling the whole mix for the night of 8 faders, unless you've got any real specific problems. That's very useful if you have like 13 bands in a night, which is what we have in the college gigs. And most of them don't get a sound check. So you've got a rough mix from one band to another that works, but you might have a drummer in band 1 that's quieter than band 2. So you've got your whole drum kit on that, and band 2 drummer's louder. That's how easy it is to turn down the drum kit. But the guitarist has gone on, band 1 guitarist used the amp on stage, band 2 guitarist has gone on and used his guitar, and it's an active guitar, so it's louder again. Okay, you might have to regain on a specific channel, but also you probably find a little notch down, okay, etc, etc. So it just makes things a little bit more quick, easy access. So that's DCAs. Now we move on to the channel specific stuff. So we've got our preamp, gate, compressor, EQ. On our preamp, we know some stuff on here. We know the gain, we know the 48V, we know the phase flip. Some of you will have used it, some of you won't. All we need to be concerned with at the moment is we tend to use, well, we will use our multi-microphone setups, especially stereo mic setups. And let's say we've got a pair of overheads. The easiest way to use it at the moment, without understanding the theory behind it, is solo your microphone pairs, select one, better with, better without, okay? Just like when you go to the opticians, with or without, and if it's better with, leave it on, move on with your recording, okay? We're going to cover phase in more detail as we go on through the weeks, but stereo miking techniques for a pair of overheads, that's important. You might do a pair of overheads with a kick drum and then try flipping the phase on the kick drum, okay? That would be another common one. But I do that once I've phased the overheads together. So I do the overheads and I find that, oh, actually it's better with, brilliant. Now I'd add the kick drum into the mix, and now what about the kick drum with those two overheads? Is it better with or without? Okay. That being done, that's the first bit of our preamp. Then we get the low cut. So low cut, simple on and off switch. I've stayed on this screen. That's not actually, that's the preamp screen, so there's a little view button. It's just easier to see if I stay on the EQ screen, because it's a bit bigger. If I turn the low cut on, you'll notice that it has just appeared down that bottom corner. Okay. Now if I raise the low cut, you'll notice that my microphone, all the low end's gone, and then the bass comes back. There we go. Why do we do that? Well, let's just say, for instance, standard tuned guitars about 82 hertz is the lowest it can produce, which typically most vocalists aren't going to sing below that. So if a vocalist isn't going to sing below 82 hertz, what's the point of having it coming through their vocal mic? So we roll that off. Live sounds is particularly important because the vocalist is stood here, drum kit behind them, kick, snare drum, bass there, guitars there, sound on their feet on the stage, big empty hollow stage, boomy, travelling with the mic stand. That will cut a lot of wastage that we don't want, okay? And then think about other instruments. So you might find snare drum. The main body of a snare lies about 180 to 220, pretty much bang on the 200 hertz, most snare drums. So you might find that rolling that to about 150 is very beneficial, because that's then going to cut off a lot of the spill from the kick drum, which is right next to the snare drum mic, okay? So in the studio, you can use your RTA, so that's this thing bouncing around in the background, real-time analysis. Can you play the snare, please? Da, 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 da. And you'll see that the peak is whatever, at 200 hertz, let's say. So you know, you can confirm with your ears what you're hearing visually, and you can roll that up to about 150, knowing that you're not taking away any of the important sound, only resonance and spill from other parts of the kit. When you hit the snare, your tom will go softly in the background. Hit that, da, you get your full tom. Your kick drum will go, it'll be droning in the background subtly, but that will take away a lot of it. Okay, so it cleans up your recordings instantly from the off. You're going to do that in the mixing stage, so why not do it here, because you know it's going to happen. Okay, and in live sound, you know it's going to improve your quality. So just, live sound, you're going to do it. Recording, save yourself a job later down the line, because once you've recorded the drum kit, and you come into the live room to listen back to it, you're going to be able to make better critical listening decisions if your drum kit sounds better from the off. So you're all sat there listening back to your kit, and if it sounds cleaner, punchier, you're going to be thinking more about the performance than you are about the mixing, thinking, oh, we need to clean that up, we need to do that. It's already done. You listen back to your kit, it's going to sound boss, okay? And you're going to make a decision about the performance, not about the production. So moving on from that, we've got a gate. So again, we've got a view button and we've got an on-off button. So we turn our gate on. We all know by now how gates work. So I talkie, and as I raise the threshold, if my voice isn't loud enough to trigger the gate, then it will cut my voice off, and then I get this really weird patchy sound where it keeps cutting out and not quite. You heard me do it a few times. But if you've got a vocalist and they're very dynamic and their voice keeps disappearing from the PA, it's going to sound really awful. So in live sound, I don't use gates pretty much at all on vocals, okay? Because the last thing you want is somebody will do a sound check, for instance. I've seen this done 100 times. They do a sound check and they go, na 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 na. Okay, that's well, it's not cutting off their voice, lovely, na 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 na, wicked. Okay, we're all done for sound check, guys. See you tonight. We walk on stage. First thing they do is go to introduce the band at talking volume, not singing volume. Hello and good evening. We're hello, 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 hello. And the mic's cutting off because they didn't anticipate talking volume, only singing volume. So the first thing you do is you lean over the rook and you just look at them and you go, and you just turn it off.
I'm guessing that's mostly used for the drums.
Yeah. So kick, snare, rack toms, floor toms. Guitars are going to be quite good. So putting a guitar on, getting to go through all their different tones, and just make sure. What's your quietest tone in the night? This one. Okay. Ding 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 Then in between songs, when they're like clicking through things, pedals and stuff, having a slurp of their drink or whatever, the microphone's not picking it up, or the hiss of the amp is the big one, especially if it's a band using high gain stuff. Nothing worse than in between songs, all you hear is yeah, that old valve amp that's due for a bit of a valet. But yeah, you're right, drums mainly. The same goes in the studio, yeah. Maybe be a little bit more liberal. Maybe you want to reduce the range. The range is how quiet the background noise is, if you remember. So are you completely cutting it away, or are you just turning some of the background noise down a bit?
Can you just go through the controls that you've got on there? So you've got...
Yeah, so if we go up a little bit, so at the moment, when my voice is this loud, it's just coming through as it is. If I drop below the threshold like this, it's not completely, it's really a bit loud. It's not completely taking it away. I'm controlling the volume of the background noise through the range, so I can actually get it pretty close to what it is if it were to open the gate, or I can completely take it away. Okay. So as for a kick drum, when you completely gate it harshly, it sounds really robotic and dry. You can use that as basically a bleed control,
Okay.
which can make it feel a bit more human again. So for recording, I would recommend use of that. For live, it's pretty harsh.
Okay.
Like pretty much get rid of it. But for recording, you go, I'm going to err on the side of caution, because I can always add more gating down the line. But on listen back, I know that some gating is going to help me make creative decisions and critical decisions, okay? But you might want to go on the lenient side. Attack, hold, release. Attack how fast that gate opens. Hold how long that gate stays open for, just to let the whole note through, which is what we want. Once the whole note's passed through, how quickly is the gate going to close? Doesn't have an auto feature on it, but the compression does. So hopping over to the compression.